conferences, please welcome to the podium Attorney Patricia Bunia.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the final plenary session for today. It is on governance issues and concerns. We have brought together a distinguished panel of resource speakers who will speak to us on various issues on governance, as these are quite controversial and timely these days. Our first speaker is an alumnus of the University of the Philippines, where he obtained a degree in geology. He began his career at the MGB and spent a number of years in France, gaining more training and experience. He returned to the MGB in 2004 as chief geologist. In March 2010, he assumed the position as the officer in charge of the Office of the Regional Director of the MGB Regional Office 4A. Since September 2010, he has been the OIC Assistant Director of the Mines and Geosciences Bureau. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Elmer Billedo.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I came here today as a geologist of the Mines and Geosciences Bureau. Any questions pertaining to the EO 79 and its IRR will not be entertained. Over the years, climate change has become a major issue globally. Extreme weather events have in fact been used as an evidence to support that climate change is currently being realized, the effects of which in a number of cases have been catastrophic proportions. The Philippines is without exception, having been hit by reports of extensive flooding and landslide, among others, which are also believed to be consequences of climate change. The Mines and Geosciences Bureau knows exactly what the situation is. Today, allow me to present the MGB's efforts to combat the effects of climate change through this report entitled Geohazard Mapping and Climate Change Adaptation, the MGB's contribution. Excuse me. Let us start by defining climate change. As herein stated, climate change refers to any significant change in the measures of climate lasting for an extended period of time. It includes major changes in temperature, precipitation, or wind patterns, among other effects, that occur over several decades or longer. Over years, the cause of climate change has been debated. And as we all know, the causes are either natural or human-induced. The release of the assessment reports of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, or IPCC, brought with it a sudden influx of information on scientific results. This graph points to a dramatic increase in the global mean temperature over the past decades, from 1860 to the year 2009. This increase in temperature is accompanied by perceptible changes in atmospheric circulation and weather patterns. The IPCC reports that the impacts of climate change include accelerated sea level rise as well as unusual extreme weather events. The increase in global temperature as a manifestation of climate change is commonly referred to as global warming. What is the mechanism of global warming? To go through it briefly, the sun, as we know, transmits solar radiation at the frequencies of visible light. This radiation largely passes through the atmosphere to warm the Earth's surface. Supposedly, all the sunlight of the Earth absorbs an equal amount of energy is transmitted back from the Earth to the outer space in the form of a lower frequencies infrared thermal radiation. Unfortunately, this is not the case, as some of the infrared radiation is absorbed by the so-called greenhouse gases present in the atmosphere, which in turn re-radiate much of the energy to the surface and the lower atmosphere. Such imbalance between the incoming and outgoing radiation is the cause of global warming. Listed here are among the anthropogenic sources of greenhouse gases, which include carbon dioxide, methane, CFCs, and nitrous oxide. Particular attention should be given to the CFCs, as these compounds, whenever released into the atmosphere, have very long residence time, which is it stays in the atmosphere for several years. This increasing concentration and the rate which is estimated to be 5% annually is indeed a cause of concern. It must be pointed, however, that the sources of these greenhouse gases could also be natural. Volcanic eruption, which releases voluminous amount of carbon dioxide aside from water vapor, is one of these sources. Whether the major cause of global warming is natural or anthropogenic is irrelevant. The point is, the evidence of global warming is clear. Rising global temperatures have been accompanied by changes in weather and climate. Many places have seen changes in rainfall, resulting in floods of greater magnitude and landslides, among others. The good thing is that the Philippines is not a major greenhouse gas emitter. The bad thing, however, is that the Philippines bears the brunt of the effects of climate change, being considered to be among the world's most disaster-prone countries. In fact, in 1995, the Philippines has experienced the most natural hazards in the 20th century, with India and US next in line. Today, the Philippines still ranks high. The MGB knows the country's situation, as its contribution in combating the effects of climate change. In 2006, the MGB launched the National Geohazards Assessment and Mapping Program. The objective of this project is to identify areas in the country that are susceptible or prone to various geologic hazards and provide the vital information to various stakeholders in order to lessen or mitigate the impacts of these events. As part of the NDRRMC, our main focus is the conduct of landslide and flood hazards assessment. Our Marine Division is also conducting studies on coastal erosion, part of which is attributed to sea level rise, another effect of climate change. The Geohazards Assessment and Mapping Program of the MGB goes into two ways. It started at the scale of 1:50,000, and now we are doing the mapping at a more detailed scale, that is 1:10,000 scale. For the information of the audience, insofar as the 1:50,000 scale is concerned, we have completed the mapping activities for the whole country. All these maps, which are high resolution, can now be downloaded free at our website. The 1:10,000 scale activities are still ongoing. As a note, in our 1:50,000 landslide mapping activity, we categorize areas as low, moderate, or high landslide susceptibility according to a set of criteria. The same set of criteria are used for the 1:10,000 scale, except for the fact that we have added a new category, which is very high, taking into considerations the high contribution of human-initiated effects. These are just some of the examples of geohazard maps at 1:10,000 scale that we have produced as part of our geohazards program. To note, the red zone represents areas of high landslide susceptibility, while the green and yellow regions represent areas of moderate and low landslide susceptibility, respectively. In this map, we have also included the flood hazard map. The blue regions represent areas of high flood susceptibility, while the orange zones represents those areas of low to moderate susceptibility. This, on the other hand, is an example of a more detailed geohazards map, which, unlike the 1:50,000, now incorporates in the map the landslide denudation features such as active or inactive landslide escarpments, landslide deposits, among others. Take note that our geohazard maps take into consideration the worst-case scenario, as it incorporates geological and geomorphological parameters. In essence, given the time frame by which it will take several hundreds of years, landforms and geomorphological features are created by geological processes. Climate change considerations are already factored in. As part of our geohazards mapping program, the MGB geologist also issues threat advisory to barangay officials. The advisory outlines the areas within the barangay that are susceptible to landslide or flood, along with pertinent recommendations. Alongside the threat advisory, we also issue geohazard report to city or municipal planners and mayors, incorporating all the reports following the assessment and mapping. All these efforts from assessment to mapping, the issuance of advisory and reports are our initial contribution for the dissemination of information for mitigating the effects of geohazards. We also conduct a formal IEC or